there are limits on what a VSO or CVSO can do. And because they don't think like that, they don't think like, okay, how am I going to set this up for a potential win at the Supreme Court or somewhere else? They're not thinking like that. So they're not necessarily forward thinking in the claim. And they're not really able to challenge the statutes, the regulations, which are interpretations of statutes by the agency or the agency policies. A lot of times they won't challenge those either. They'll just go with it. And there are policies that the VA follows and creates that are inconsistent with the regulations that they also created through notice and comment. And then you got the statute. So there's a lot of different layers to think about, not just the evidence. So there's a lot of different components going on.
What you're describing to me is thinking like a lawyer, and even simpler is a strategy. Like, figure out what your strategy is. Path of least resistance is always the best way. This is definitely not the exception. You want to take that route here, and you want to think about. You don't need to follow it all at once. You don't need to do it in a hurry. Nothing gets done in a hurry if it's complicated and you don't understand it. Take your time, understand what you're doing, and think about the future. Where are you trying to go? And then, that's your strategy. You're going to get pushback along the way, most likely. I hope you don't, but you should, factor everything in potentially. Maybe not as bad as I do, but be prepared. If you want to learn more about the VA claims process, you can go to my website at combatcraig.com. And part of that process is medical evidence. That's what you're fighting. That's what we're fighting about when it comes to VA claims and veterans benefits. So you can go to my website and contact my med team.
Yeah, you gotta plan for the worst, hope for the best. Pray about it, whatever your thing is. Yep. And at the end of the day, you have to, if you're going to work with other people, you have to trust them. So if it's a CVSO or VSO, you better trust that person, and you better understand exactly who's helping you. Because when it comes to VSOs, or CVSOs rather, what I have seen is I have seen the CVSO community, and this is nationwide, where they will pass the case off for as far as power of attorney at the regional office to a different VSO. And so you have to really know what's going on. I've seen many instances where veterans not only do they not know what's going on with their case, but they don't even know maybe who's arguing it.
Right. Mark started it, but he retired, and then it went to Fred, and Fred died, and now Tom has it. Like, that literally does happen because what is it, a 21, 22? You signed the power of attorney, so they can do all that stuff legally.
Yeah. Well, yes and no. So I think that what they've done over the past couple years, maybe the past decade, is they've gotten a little fast and loose with power of attorney and how to delegate it. So you just can't, like, I can't take a power of attorney for my client and, sign it off to another attorney at a different firm, right? Okay. I can't do that. We're different agencies, different entities, different companies.
Well, you can do it within your own firm though, right?
Kind of. I mean,
so it's not as bad as that, but that has happened in the past.
Yeah, but like a CVSO, which is a government employee, right? Don't forget. They have been known to transfer the power of attorney without the veteran realizing it to a different VSO, whether it's the state agency, whether it's maybe DAV or Legion, and that's a whole different company. That's a different nonprofit. They may be located at the regional office, but they're not the same. And the agencies do have memoranda where they believe that they can do that, but I think it's improper because the veteran ultimately should know and should have a say and control over what's happening. But I can't tell you how many times I've heard of stories where veteran goes into the CVSO, they fill out the paperwork, as far as the signature, and then the VSO fills it out the rest of the way after the veteran leaves. And the veteran doesn't ultimately know what's on the document. So in my mind, having a non-attorney do that is scary, should be scary anyway. Right. But yeah, when it comes to
it is for me, and how do you measure that trust? I'm not very trusting. I've gotten worse over time, but I'm just not. I've questioned kind of everything since I was, young. So I wouldn't be able to sniff out a good or bad VSO because we're talking about a result that's going to happen in the future, and it's probably 6 months in the future. And I can't look at this guy and say, are you going to be a piece of shit or are you going to be good? Because he's going to just say, I'm going to be good. You know,
Mm-hmm.
he's going to be cordial and polite. And he doesn't know the question either. So I would have a difficult time doing that. So
Well,
either
and
figure that out or skip that piece because you
right.
just really don't know.
Well, and you don't know what you don't know, right? And
Yeah.
neither do the VSOs or CVSOs. And so a lot of them, a lot of them believe they're doing a good job, and there are many that are, but they don't know what a lawyer knows. It's just not the same. Different education, different
They're
schools.
not lawyers, most of
Not
them.
lawyers, I
Huge
mean,
percentage.
we're literally trained to think differently, and I know that my brain has changed how it thinks after becoming a lawyer, and then of course being a lawyer for more than a decade. Your brain does change. Like, I'm not, just as an example, I'm not as creative as I used to be, and I used to enjoy creative writing more, things like that. But when you write for a living and you think like that for a living, it does change how you look at stuff. But on the other hand, you're definitely better at picking out nuances, and whenever the agency's bullshitting you, you can sense it, and the hackles go up on the neck, and you're like, oh, I'm getting the runaround here. This is fun,
You and I are two examples. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not accredited, but I
Mm-hmm.
definitely started. That's the way I had to be to
Mm-hmm.
win my last claim. I had to get rid of my thoughts and feelings and realize this is a business decision and literally think lawyerish and yes or no questions. Is this legal? Is it not? Is this under the
Mm-hmm.
law? Can I, what do I do to prove this? So I've changed the way I
Mm-hmm.
look at things for sure in the last 5 years.
Well,
And
you
I'm not
definitely
a
become more
lawyer.
cynical, right? I mean,
Yeah,
you can't help
sure.
that. I know
Yeah.
for me, I went from 10% to 100% permanent total, and had to become an attorney to do it because I couldn't even hire an attorney. Couldn't even hire an attorney. And so I became an attorney, and Voc Rehab paid for that. Thank you, Voc Rehab. And now I help veterans, sue the agency and go after the agency for benefits. So, there's not certainly a degree of irony there, but yeah, going back to, what we're talking about, if you're a disabled veteran and the agency owes you money and you haven't filed a claim, you do not have a right to hire an attorney. You lost that right decades ago, maybe even before you were born, probably before you were born, because it was like the 30s. And the system has been like that ever since. And gradually, veterans have been able to hire attorneys over time because people realize that the agency is largely corrupt. Even the individual employees may be okay, but the way the system is created is like an insurance company, and it's there to screw you. The way that the laws and the policies are created, it is to try to minimize as much money as possible that is going to you. And it's been like that since probably even before it was called the Bureau of War Risk Insurance. And hey, by the way, the VA used to be called the Bureau of War Risk Insurance. Okay. When a lot of these rules were created, it was called the Bureau of War Risk Insurance. Now, if you think it's anything other than that, you may have to go to talk to a doctor for some other reasons. Okay.
Right.
Because let me tell you, not much has changed, and the times have changed. We have different presidents or whatever, but a lot of those regulations are still in place, and they have their root back when it was called the Bureau of War Risk Insurance. So
Like a lot
don't
of
kid yourself.
laws on old books are like that. Yeah.
Right. Right.
They're antiquated. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just kind of going back to the employees, I mean, it's a hostile and toxic work environment they enter. A lot of employees
Mm-hmm.
probably go in there well intentioned, but they get ground down. And yeah, I don't know what that process is like. I understand it enough. It's just one
Well, they
big
have
problem.
the big quota
It makes
system.
good people bad. Is my
Yeah.
point.
Well, and they
In
have
most
a
cases.
quota system, and it's, the system itself is not, it's just not geared toward quality. It's
Right.
geared toward getting as many claims out as possible, and minimizing getting caught making bad decisions. Right.
I
So, I
think
mean,
it's
that,
still. I think it's production and accuracy
oh,
in the case of
yes,
the VA.
obviously much,
Yeah,
yeah, other
readers.
than quotas and screwing, right?
Yeah,
We don't want
yeah.
to call it quotas and screwing, but yes, I mean, that's, certainly a better way
And
of
that's
putting
what
it.
you're up against. Just understanding that it's not personal. It may feel personal. You may be feeling targeted for whatever reason. That's actually not what's going on. I mean, a
Mm.
small percentage it might actually be going on, but they just do what they do, and it definitely feels personal. But it's not. It's
Mhm.
it's a business, and they're in the business of keeping your money in their pocket.
Mm-hmm. Right. It's workers' comp for the DOD. That's it. You know, they slapped the hospital onto it, and that's what it is. I mean, it's, you know, we can call it a lot of things, and maybe makes you. I call it Mother VA now. So Mother VA, you know, it's there to care for you, except when you're a veteran. Yeah, and then it comes to spank you, you know, and chase you around in a I guess they call it pugilistic.
I think we hit all the points, and thanks for joining me today. I think we pretty much pounded that one pretty good. Where can folks find you if they want to reach out to you and say hi?
Yeah, if they have any questions about this type of stuff, BenjaminKrausLaw.com is the best place to reach me.
If you want to learn more about the VA claims process, you can go to my website at combatcraig.com. And part of that process is medical evidence. That's what you're fighting. That's what we're fighting about when it comes to VA claims and veterans benefits. So you can go to my website and contact my med team.